Welcome to Infidelity Diaries. Explore the secrets and stories of infidelity with us. My name is Sarah, and my life might seem perfect. Married to a successful doctor named Tom, we lived in a picturesque suburb of Seattle with our two children, Jake and Emma. Our marriage seemed strong, and we always supported each other in everything. But one morning changed everything when I found a mysterious item in our home. What seemed like a simple coincidence turned into a series of events that shook my understanding of life, love, and loyalty. This story is full of passion, pain, and unexpected twists. Get ready for a captivating journey that will make you reconsider the meaning of devotion and trust. Morning began as usual. Tom had already left for work, leaving me a cup of hot coffee on the kitchen table. I enjoyed this small ritual every day, feeling my husband's love and care warm me even in his absence. I set the cup down and headed to the bathroom to get ready. Entering the bathroom, I saw something shiny on the floor. It was a small gold heart-shaped pendant. I frowned, picking it up. This pendant was clearly not mine, and I couldn't remember anyone in our family wearing it. I placed it on the shelf and decided to ask the kids later if it was their toy. But throughout the day, the thought of the pendant didn't leave me alone. I was sure I had never seen it before. When the kids came home from school, I asked them, but they just shrugged and said they had never seen it before. I began to wonder where it could have come from. In the evening, when Tom returned from work, I decided to show him the find. We were sitting in the kitchen, having dinner, when I placed the pendant on the table in front of him. "Tom, do you know what this is? I found it in the bathroom this morning." Tom picked up the pendant, examined it closely, and shook his head. "No, Sarah, I've never seen it. Maybe it was left by one of our guests?" His answer seemed logical, but there was still unease in my heart. We hadn't had guests for several months, and I couldn't imagine who could have left such a personal item in our home. I decided to put these thoughts aside and focus on our family evening. However, despite my efforts, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, trying to find an explanation for the strange pendant. The next morning, I took it in my hands again and noticed a small engraving on the back. 4M. These words were like a key to a mystery, but I didn't know what door they opened. Several days passed, and I decided to talk to our nanny, Lauren. Lauren had been working with us for 3 years, and I completely trusted her. She was young, energetic, and always got along well with the children. When Lauren came by again, I showed her the pendant and asked if she knew where it came from. "No, Mrs. Sarah, I've never seen it. Maybe it's something from your old belongings?" Her answer was quite convincing, but something in her eyes made me suspicious. At that moment, I realized I needed to find out the truth at any cost. I decided to install a small hidden camera in the bathroom, hoping it would help me uncover the mystery. The next day, I carefully hid the camera and began observing. My suspicions grew, but I needed to be patient. For the first few days, nothing unusual happened. Lauren behaved as usual, the kids played and laughed, and Tom came home tired after work. But one evening, while reviewing the recordings, I noticed Lauren entering the bathroom and carefully examining the shelf where I had left the pendant. She picked it up, smiled, and put it back. My anxiety increased. Why was Lauren so interested in the pendant? What did she know? I decided not to rush to conclusions and continued observing. The next day, I set up the camera again and waited. When I reviewed the recordings from that evening, my heart stopped. On the screen, I saw Tom entering the bathroom with Lauren. They stood too close to each other, and I felt a surge of anger inside me. Tom gently embraced Lauren and whispered something in her ear. She laughed, and they left the bathroom together. My head spun from shock and pain. I couldn't believe my eyes. My husband, my loving and caring Tom, was cheating on me with our nanny. The pendant was hers, and the engraving, for M, now made sense. My world collapsed in an instant. I knew I needed to talk to Tom, but I couldn't gather my thoughts. I felt a storm of emotions growing inside me. Anger, pain, betrayal. I decided to wait until I had gathered all the evidence, leaving him no chance for excuses. A week had passed since I discovered the truth. Inside me, a storm of emotions raged, but I kept everything to myself, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy for the sake of the children. Every time Tom hugged me or kissed me goodbye, I wanted to scream. But I knew I had to be strong and gather all the evidence before confronting him. One evening, when Tom was working late, I decided to take the opportunity to install additional cameras in the living room and bedroom. I wanted to understand how long this had been going on and how deep their connection was. Setting up the cameras, I felt a sense of relief. Now I had a chance to uncover the whole truth. The next day, I found a suitable moment to talk to Lauren. We were sitting in the kitchen while the children played in another room. "Lauren," I began, trying to sound as calm as possible, "I would like to know a bit more about your personal life. You said you didn't have a boyfriend, but I found a pendant in the bathroom and want to understand what it means." Lauren looked flustered, but quickly regained her composure. "Oh, Mrs. Sarah, my brother gave me that pendant. He always gives me such cute gifts to support me." Her answer sounded plausible, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. I nodded and decided not to pressure her to avoid arousing suspicion. But inside, my desire to uncover the truth grew stronger. In the evening, when Tom returned home, I watched him, trying not to reveal my feelings. He was as loving and caring as ever. This made me even angrier. How could he be so duplicitous? How could he betray me and our family? The next day, I began reviewing the recordings from the new cameras. On one of them, I saw Tom and Lauren sitting on the couch in the living room, hugging and laughing. They looked so happy, so carefree. My heart ached with pain. I felt anger boiling inside me. I knew I needed to gather more evidence before confronting them with the truth. The next day, when Tom was again working late, I installed another camera in his office. I wanted to know what happened there when he was alone. Several days passed, and I began to notice changes in Tom and Lauren's behavior. They became more cautious, spending less time together in front of the children. But this only heightened my suspicions. I knew they were hiding something important. One evening, when Tom was on duty at the hospital, I decided to review the recordings from his office camera. On the screen, I saw Lauren entering the office, looking around, and closing the door. She approached Tom's desk, took a key out of her purse, and opened a drawer. Inside was a small box. She opened it and took out another pendant, exactly like the one I found in the bathroom. My heart raced. What did this mean? I decided to check Tom's drawer the next day when he was at work. The next morning, I sent the kids to school and told Lauren I had some errands in town. When I returned, Lauren had already left for a walk with the children. I quickly went up to Tom's office and opened the drawer. There was indeed a small box inside, and within it was a pendant engraved with "For L." I felt the world around me crumble. Tom had not only been cheating on me with Lauren, but he had also been giving her the same pendants as me. I realized he had never been who he seemed. He had been deceiving me throughout our entire marriage. My heart filled with anger and determination. I knew what I had to do. I gathered all the evidence I had and decided to prepare divorce papers. I could no longer live with such betrayal. The next day, Lauren arrived at our house looking completely different. She was wearing a short dress with a deep neckline that accentuated her slender figure and seductive curves. Her blonde hair was loose, cascading in waves over her shoulders. For the first time since she started working for us, she wore bright makeup and bold red lipstick. I noticed her new look as soon as she walked in the door. It was too flashy and inappropriate for our quiet family life. My heart started beating faster, and the suspicions I had been trying to suppress flared up with new intensity. Deciding not to show my emotions, I simply nodded at her in greeting and went to the kitchen, pretending to be busy preparing breakfast. All morning, I couldn't take my eyes off Lauren. She played with the children as usual, but her gaze kept seeking out Tom. When he emerged from his bedroom, she smiled at him in a way that made my insides twist. I knew something was wrong and decided to follow them. When the children went outside to play in the garden, Lauren approached Tom, who was sitting in his office. I watched them from the hallway, hiding around the corner. Lauren quietly entered the office, carefully closing the door behind her. My heart pounded, and I stealthily approached the door to listen. Inside the office, I heard soft whispers, followed by laughter. I dared to slightly open the door and peek inside. Tom and Lauren were standing too close to each other. In the next moment, their lips met in a passionate kiss. Tom wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her closer. Lauren encircled his neck with her arms, and their kiss became even deeper and more intense. Tom slowly began to slide Lauren's dress off her shoulders. I watched as it smoothly fell, revealing her beautiful lace lingerie. Lauren moaned softly, and I felt a wave of jealousy and pain rise within me. Tom, without breaking away from her, unhooked her bra, and it fell to the floor, fully exposing her. He started kissing her neck gently, moving lower to her chest. Lauren threw her head back, savoring each of his touches. Tom removed her panties, and Lauren stood before him completely naked. He looked at her with desire, and she smiled, enjoying his attention. He began kissing her stomach, then knelt, tracing his lips along her thighs. Lauren moaned quietly, relishing every moment. I couldn't watch anymore. My heart was breaking from the pain and betrayal. Whispers, laughter, the sounds of kisses. It was all happening again. I couldn't take it anymore. I decisively opened the door and saw that my worst fears were confirmed. Tom and Lauren were immersed in a passionate kiss, their bodies entwined. Tom was standing, embracing her, and Lauren, completely naked, was pressed against him. "What is going on here?" I exclaimed, unable to contain my anger. They both jumped and pulled away from each other. Lauren tried to cover herself with her hands, but it was too late. Tom looked stunned, but there was no hint of remorse in his eyes. "Sarah, this isn't what you think," he began, but I interrupted him. "No, it's exactly what I think," I shouted. "You betrayed me. You destroyed our family." Tears streamed down my face, but I was not going to back down. I looked at Tom and Lauren, feeling anger boiling inside me. "Sarah, please." Lauren tried to say something, but I didn't want to hear it. "Get out of my house," I screamed. "And you, Tom, too. I don't want to see either of you." Tom approached me, trying to explain, but I turned away. I couldn't look at him anymore. Lauren quickly dressed and ran out of the office, her face streaked with tears. I was left alone in the empty office, feeling the world around me crumble. I didn't know what to do next, but one thing was clear. I could no longer trust Tom. My life would never be the same. Tom tried to explain himself, but I didn't give him a chance. All his flattery and apologies seemed like empty words. I felt anger and disappointment growing inside me. How could he do this to me and our children? "Sarah, give me a chance to explain," he said, stepping closer, but I stepped back. "No, Tom," I replied firmly. "You destroyed everything we had. I can't forgive this." I walked out of the office without looking back. My mind was swirling with thoughts, and I didn't know what to do next. I felt betrayed and alone, but I knew I had to act for the sake of myself and the children. In the evening, after the children had gone to bed, I sat in the kitchen, pondering my next steps. My emotions were boiling, but I tried to remain calm. I knew I had to contact a lawyer and start the divorce process. It wouldn't be easy, but I couldn't live with such betrayal any longer. I understood that I needed to act quickly and decisively to protect myself and my children. The next morning, I met with my attorney, Caitlin, in her cozy office. She was an experienced family law specialist and immediately instilled confidence in me. "Sarah, I understand how difficult this is for you right now," Caitlin said when I explained the situation to her. "But it's important to stay strong and focused. We need to gather all the evidence and prepare the divorce documents." I handed her the footage from the cameras, photos, and message printouts. Caitlin carefully reviewed everything and nodded. "We have enough evidence to file a petition," she said, "but you need to be prepared for a long and painful process. Tom will likely put up a fight." I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to see it through. I understood that this was the only way I could start a new life and protect my children. When I got home, I saw Tom sitting in the kitchen. His face looked tired and worried. He looked at me, and I saw pain in his eyes. "Sarah, please hear me out," he began, but I interrupted him. "Tom, I don't want to hear your excuses," I said coldly. "I've already filed for divorce. Our paths are diverging." Tom looked stunned, but it seemed he understood that resisting was pointless. "I understand," he said quietly. "I will try to make this process as peaceful as possible for the sake of the children." I nodded, feeling a mix of emotions inside me. On one hand, I still loved Tom and couldn't believe our marriage had fallen apart. On the other hand, I knew I had to be strong for myself and the children. A few days passed, and the divorce proceedings began. Caitlin worked tirelessly to protect my interests. I felt I could trust her, and it gave me strength. Meanwhile, Lauren no longer came to our house. I found a new nanny, Anne, who was a kind and caring woman. She immediately got along with the children, and I felt I could rely on her. One evening, after a tense day in court, I was sitting in the kitchen, lost in thought. Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. Opening it, I saw Caitlin with a folder of documents in her hands. "Sarah, I have good news," she said, smiling. "We received a temporary court order granting you custody of the children and the right to stay in the house." Her words were like a balm to my soul. I felt a weight lift slightly off my shoulders. "Thank you, Caitlin," I said, genuinely smiling. "You have no idea how much this means to me." "This is just the beginning," she replied. "But we're on the right track. Hang in there, Sarah. Everything will be fine." The process continued, and with each passing day, I felt my confidence growing. I knew there were still many challenges ahead, but I was ready to fight for my future and the future of my children. A few months had passed since I filed for divorce. The temporary court ruling allowed me to focus on the children and myself. I tried my best to ensure Jake and Emma felt safe and weren't affected by Tom and me splitting up. Anne had turned out to be a real godsend. She cared for the children as if they were her own and helped me in every way possible. I was grateful for her kindness and understanding. We became close friends, and it helped me cope with the challenges. One evening, after the children were already asleep, I was sitting on the porch with a cup of tea, enjoying the quiet. Suddenly, I heard footsteps and saw Caitlin approaching the house. She looked excited. "Sarah, I have news," she said, sitting down next to me. "We got the final divorce decree. You are officially free now." Those words sounded like music. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "Thank you, Caitlin," I said, smiling. "I couldn't have done this without you." "It was my job," she replied. "But now it's time to think about the future. Do you have any plans?" I pondered. My future seemed uncertain, but I knew I had to move forward. "I want to focus on the children and myself," I replied. "Find a new job that brings me joy and fulfillment, and maybe, someday, find love again." Caitlin nodded, approving of my words. "That's a good plan," she said. "I'm sure you'll succeed." A few weeks passed, and I began looking for a new job. Thanks to my skills and experience, I quickly found a position at the local library. Working there brought me joy and allowed me to spend more time with the children. One day, during a lunch break, I met Mark. He was a teacher at the school where Jake and Emma studied. We started talking and quickly hit it off. Mark was kind, smart, and attentive. He was also divorced and had children of his own. We began dating, and with each passing day, I felt a growing connection between us. Mark supported me in everything and helped me cope with difficulties. I felt that I could trust and love again. Several more months went by, and my relationship with Mark became serious. We spent a lot of time together, and our children got along well. I felt that our family was becoming whole again. A few months had passed since my final divorce from Tom, and life gradually began to improve. I focused on my work at the library and caring for the children. Mark and I continued seeing each other, and our relationship grew stronger. The children adapted to our new routine, and I saw their faces light up with joy again. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, I noticed Jake looked excited. He approached me, clutching the hem of my dress. "Mom," he began, "we're having a celebration at school today, and I want you to come. It's important to me." I smiled and patted his head. "Of course, sweetheart. I will definitely be there." Throughout the day, I couldn't shake Jake's words from my mind. His request reminded me how crucial it was to give the children attention, especially now, when they were going through such significant changes in our lives. The school celebration was wonderful. The children sang, danced, and performed various acts. Jake and Emma beamed with joy seeing me in the audience. Mark was there too, and we enjoyed the time spent together. After the celebration, Mark suggested we go to his place for dinner. We agreed, and the evening was warm and cozy. The children played while Mark and I cooked dinner and talked about life. When the children fell asleep, Mark and I remained in the kitchen, enjoying the quiet. He took my hand and looked into my eyes. "Sarah, I want you to know how much you mean to me. I know we've both had a tough journey, but I feel we can build something real and strong together." His words touched me deeply. I felt that Mark was sincere, and it gave me confidence in the future. "Mark, you have become an important part of our lives. I am grateful for your support and care. I also believe that we can make it work." We embraced, and I felt warmth and peace spread through me. Challenges lay ahead, but I was ready to face them with Mark by my side. A few more months passed, and our life with Mark and the children kept getting better. We decided to move in together, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. Our kids got along well, and we became a real family. One evening, as we gathered for a family dinner, Mark stood up and raised his glass. "I have an important announcement," he said, smiling. "Sarah and I have decided to get married." The children jumped up with joy, hugging us both. I looked at Mark, and in his eyes, I saw love and confidence. It was a moment I had dreamed of since realizing that I could love and be loved again. The wedding preparations were full of joyous moments. We picked out a dress, chose rings, planned the ceremony, and invited guests. I felt like my life was once again filled with light and happiness. The wedding day arrived. We chose a small country house surrounded by a blooming garden for our ceremony. The sun shone brightly, and everything around us was filled with beauty and joy. As I walked down the aisle holding Jake and Emma's hands, my heart overflowed with love. Mark waited for me at the altar, his eyes gleaming with happiness. We exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other in joy and sorrow, to support each other, and to love each other for the rest of our lives. After the ceremony, we had a small reception with our close friends and family. The children laughed and played, and we savored every moment of this special day. In the evening, when the guests had left, we were alone, enjoying the quiet and peace. "Sarah," Mark said, embracing me, "I am so happy we found each other. I promise to do everything to make our family happy." "And I, Mark," I replied, nestling close to him. "We will face all challenges together." Our lives intertwined, and I knew there would be many joyful moments and trials ahead. But I was confident we could handle anything because we had each other's love and support. Our lives changed forever, but I knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter. We were ready to move forward, building our future together. And although the paths were thorny, we found our love and happiness, and that was the most important thing.